Hello there, this is Alana Tuckey. I'm the lead faculty for Math 131, and I'm going to show you in this video how to use Excel to do a couple things for your first project. Namely, for task number 3, both options 1 and option 2 say that you have to create a table either in your student submissions packet or in Excel, and then create a scattergram in Excel, right? And then attach a printout. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So it's either for the Turnpike or for the height and arm span one. But either way, it's the same idea. They say in the student submissions packet, which is a bunch of sheets you can use to make your turned in project nice and neat for your instructor, it says you can either record your data here by hand, or you can use Excel and attach a printout. You can create a scattergram here by hand, or you can use Excel. And Excel is actually really quick and easy once you know what you're doing. All right, so let's get Excel open and start doing it. Okay, so I'm going to go to the bottom left corner right here, and I'm going to type Excel. And right there it shows up. So I click on it. And it's a Microsoft product just like Word or whatever. All right, so I'm going to start typing. I'm going to do, I guess, the height and arm span one just because that's what I feel like doing. All right, so then I'm going to oh, you probably don't know what I'm doing right there. All right, first thing I want to do is I want to make this printout just a little bit bigger. I don't like how tiny that print is. You can see it's 11-point font right up here. So I'm going to click on this arrow and I'm going to make it like 16-point font, 18-point font. Heck, let's go big. All right, I'm going to type in my persons. So I'm going to pause you. And my persons, I mean Bugs Bunny. And I'm going to do, let's see, Daffy Duck. And so on. All right, I'll be right back. Let me type this up. All right, there we go. So I've got some heights and arm spans. But of course, I want to be able to print this out and turn it in and have it look nice. So I'm going to go down here and do a couple things. One, I'm going to double click on this little thing that says Sheet 1. See where it says Sheet 1 down there? Double click. I'm going to tell this arm span data. There we go. And then while I'm on the subject, I'm going to save this thing right now. That way, if my computer dies in a minute, I still have it. So I'm going to save it to my desktop, or you'd save it to your G Drive or your wherever you've got your documents, and say project 1 and my name, which, whatever your last name is. So Tuckey, right? Or Smith, or, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. All right, now we've got a couple problems. We need to make this look even prettier, right? Everything's great. So I'm like, all right, I don't like how everything's getting kind of cut off, right? You can see persons being cut off. Wile E. Coyote's name is being cut off. I can see it's Wile E. Coyote up here, but I can't get to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight these 3 columns because that's where all my data is. So I'm going to move my cursor up to where the A is. You see how when I hover up there, it turns into a downward arrow. So you click with your left mouse button and drag across. And that way you're highlighting all 3 columns. And then I just pick up on my mouse button and then all 3 columns are highlighted. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my cursor hover in between. Do you see how it's hovering in between the B and the C? Or you can do it between the A and the B, it doesn't matter. Or even the C and the D. But you want to turn it into a double-sided arrow so it's pointing left and right at the same time. That'll happen when the cursor gets over that vertical line right there between A and B. Then you double click and it makes it beautiful. Nice, huh? All right, now I'm going to highlight the labels up here. And I want to make those bold and kind of make them pop as labels. So I'm going to click up here on the bold, or you can do Control B. Hold down the Control button and hit B, and that'll turn things bold. And then I also kind of want this to look like a table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the whole thing. I'm doing that by clicking on one of the cells, like the top left corner. I'm holding down my left mouse button and I'm dragging the mouse down and to the right so that the whole data set is highlighted. And then I'm going to make it so it's centered because I like it that way. You don't have to do that if you don't want. And then I'm going to click on Borders, which is up here in the Borders menu. And then I've got a nice, pretty graph. And if I want to print it, I can go to File, Print, not a graph, sorry, a table. If I go to File, Print, you can see what it's going to print like. That is what it's going to look like when it prints on the page, right there. Lovely. Now, if it bothers you, the fact that it's in the top left corner, all you have to do is go down here to this page setup thing, click on that, go to margins, and you could say I want to center it on the page horizontally. You could do it vertically as well, and you can see it's going to move it to the center. Boom, like that. Or if you say I want it at the top, but I just want it in the center, so I can unclick the vertically and say okay, and there it is. It'll print at the top, and then you just print on whatever printer you've got. All right, so that's how to make the table. It's pretty. Let me go back to get to the main screen. To get out of here, you click on Home. If you press print, it'll automatically happen. Oh, you know what? Me personally, I'd also like this to be kind of highlighted. So I'm going to hit gray up here with a little paint bucket. And that way it's even printing gray. And you can see where those little dash lines over here between the G and the H, that's showing you what a page is for printout features. So it's saying, hey, if you type anything in all of these cells, it'll print on that same page. But if you type anything over here, you're no good. Right? So hypothetically speaking, I suppose if you wanted to type up some of your answers, say like, D and find the answers and stuff like that, you could do that. Although, of course, for any problems that you have to show your work by hand, you would have to do that and write it in by hand. All right, so that's how to make a table. It's very pretty and easy. Now we're going to make a graph. So I'm going to highlight the data and make a graph from it. Now, I don't really want the persons, right? I just want the height and the arm span, right? So I'm going to highlight all of those data. And of course, if you were doing the turnpike, it's the same idea. You just highlight your distances and your costs. Same thing. And then you go to Insert. And then you want to pick Scatter, which is over here. Click on Scatter. And there it is. Beautiful, isn't it? Now all you have to do is adjust the labels and everything, and you'll be all set. All right, how do you do that? Well, you want to get rid of the legend. So I just clicked on it and pressed Delete. You want to type in your title, right? So type a title up here. I'm going to let you guys figure out what that would be. That's part of your job. And then I'm going to go to, you see, let me just show you real quick. If I click off of this, all those options for the table or for the graph disappear. Don't freak out about that. Just click on the graph again and there they appear. They're the chart tools, right? So if I click on layout, I want axis titles, right? So you need an axis title. I will let you figure out what that is. And then I would need another axis title for the vertical axis. I particularly like the rotated one, but you fill out what you need for that, right? That's your job. Now, if you want to make this be prettier, if you don't like this particular graph or whatever, you can go to Design, and you can fiddle around in here with different graphs, different ways of looking at it, right? So you're going to want to play around with all of this. Make sure you label your axes, make sure you do all that glorious stuff. And then if you've got the chart clicked on, you can go to File, Print, and there you can see it's going to print it as an entire page. And currently it's landscape orientation, meaning it turns the paper 90 degrees and makes it so that the long edge is on the long side. And then if you want to flip that, you go to Portrait, and there you go. You can see it. You have a lot of dead space in the middle of your page, but you could do it, right? And if you don't want it to be aligned, you can fiddle with that, but I don't think it's going to really happen for a graph. So up to you whether you want portrait or landscape, but you want to make sure that you label it and deal with it accordingly. And then you can just print to your regular printer. One thing that you're going to have to do, though, is not only the titles, but you want to make sure that you've double checked your data. If you see some point randomly out here or randomly over here, that probably means you typed something in incorrectly. So you might want to figure that out. And let's see what else. Oh, if you don't really like, say, oh, I hate all this dead space over here. I mean, I don't really need all of that. That's fine. You don't need to have it. So you can double click on the axis. You can change your minimum from 0, which is what it currently is, to, I don't know, I could change it to 20. Enter. And then it would adjust accordingly. And let's say I want a grid. I want to see some vertical lines in there. So you could right click, add major grid lines. Those are on the 10s. And then I could add minor grid lines. Oh, but I don't really want minor grid lines every 2. That seems kind of lame. I want minor grid lines every 5. There they are. Although 2 is kind of nice. So I left those in there. And then if you want to make these bold, you can click on them and Control B. You just want to make sure that you're appropriately labeling what all of this means. So what is 20? What is 10? All that stuff. I believe that you're supposed to clearly denote your point. as well. So let me just show you. Pretend I'm Foghorn Leghorn. It's not much of a stretch. I talk a lot. So this dot right here is Foghorn Leghorn. So if I click once, all the dots are highlighted. If I click again, then that special dot is highlighted. And I can double click and it'll ask me all sorts of things for that data point. How do you want to format that data point? So I can go down to marker fill. Currently it's automatic. I can change that from being the blue that it is to being black, say. Or if you made all of them orange, you can make it. You just want to make sure that when you print it on a black and white printer, it's going to show up. So, I mean, I could pick anything that's really, really dark. Black would probably work well as long as my other points don't look like black, right? There we go. Now, if you want to also add in the extra bonus of showing that that's you, hold on. Let's see if I can get this to work. You click on Layout, Shapes, and I could pick an arrow and kind of draw it up in there. Now it's blue, so I'm going to double click on that and change it to black in the shape outline thing here. And then I'm going to label it with, let's see, Layout text box. Let me throw in a text box here and say me and what my height was. So I was at 62,70 because I'm Foghorn Leghorn. There we go. Now let's see if I can get that to print. There it is. See? Right, so that's how you label yourself as requested in one of the problems. If you're doing the Armspan one, if you're doing the Turnpike one, you do not have to do that. All right, so that's it. That's how to do everything that you need to do for your project. So you come into Excel, you type in all of your stuff. I would recommend making things kind of bigger, putting a border around stuff, right? If you highlight them, I clicked on the border icon up here, but you could also right click and go to borders and shadings if that shows up. Hold on. There we go. Oh, it's not showing up for me. Oh, format cells. There it is. And then you can fiddle around with stuff like that in there, or you can deal with it up in the borders and shading menu, right? So click on borders and you can play around with it like that. Me personally, I find this a lot quicker up here in the menu, in the ribbon. And then I made this bold. I decided to make everything centered. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. And then you highlight your data, which the names of the people don't count as data, or in the Turnpike case, the names of the city interchange that you're doing. But you would highlight the data, go to Insert, click Scattergram. You have to make tables and stuff like that, and the rest of it is all just kind of niceties, trying to make it pretty, trying to label the point you need to if you need to. Remember, you have lots of options, but you're going to have to print whatever you do. So if you choose a kind of a different one, just remember it has to print out nicely. And then to print whatever you're doing, if you want to print a graph, you go click on that graph, go to File, Print. There it is. If you want to click on the table, then you click off of the graph over here to where the table is, and you click File, Print. Oh, and you can see, yuck, those graphs are showing up. I don't want that. So let me go back here, and I'm going to kind of move these graphs out of here. Now they're in that second page, which is fine. I don't need them to be there. I don't care, right? So I can go back to File, Print. There's the first page, which is the table. If I go to the second page, I can actually get the table or the picture that way, but it's not as nice as when you print it by itself. When you click on that chart and you go to File, Print, that's giving you your best option because it's showing the most amount of clarity because it's zoomed that graph out so big. When you print it in the other way, it's kind of zoomed it out really tiny, so that makes it harder. But whichever way you want to do it, I'm sure it's fine. And with that, we're done. I hope you enjoy your first project. See you back here for more videos for the second one.